Josh sprinted through the darkened streets of Dreadford as fast as he could, his heart pounding madly in his chest. Memories of his wolf vision flashed through his mind. Howling winds, sharp instincts, raw power. He pushed harder, willing his legs to move faster, to recapture the speed that had coursed through him the night before. But no matter how much effort he exerted, his human form betrayed him, feeling sluggish, heavy, like he was trapped in some feeble mockery of his true body. The frustration gnawed at him, a desperate yearning to shed his skin and run wild once again. He skidded to a stop in front of his apartment, breath ragged, the weight of humanity still clinging to him. Fumbling with his keys, he rushed inside, stripping away his sweat-soaked clothes and dove into the shower. The hot water cascaded over him, washing away the grime, but not the restless energy thrumming beneath his skin. Clean and dressed, Josh barely registered the cab ride to the foxhole. His mind kept drifting back to the thrill of the night before, the primal power he'd tasted. Even as he sat in the back seat, he couldn't shake the sense of loss, the aching need to feel that freedom again. He arrived late. The sign in the front door showed the place was already open. With a muttered curse, he hurried inside, grabbed his uniform from the back and slipped it on. But before he could reach the counter, Roxy stepped out of the shadows, arms crossed, her sharp gaze scanning him from head to toe.
The place is empty. You can catch your breath now.
How did you...
Carl called me. He came for his regular order and the place was still closed.
Josh ran a hand through his hair.
I'm sorry, Roxy. I don't know what's happening to me. If I told you, you wouldn't believe it.
Why don't you try me?
He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. The weight of the truth sat heavy on his tongue, impossible to speak. Josh swallowed hard, glancing away.
Look, I get it if you want to fire me.
He pulled off his apron, draping it over the prep table with a resigned sigh. Roxy watched him in silence, the corners of her mouth twitching in a hint of a smile, eyes sparkling with something just out of reach. She stood there for a long moment, studying him as if seeing something beyond the exhausted young man in front of her.
No, mister, you promised me a day off and I'm taking it, but I can't keep giving you second chances, Josh. This is a business.
I understand, Roxy.
Good luck, then.
She untied her apron and tossed it onto the counter, her gaze still sharp as a knife.
You are opening tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp. You better be here or Carl will let me know. This is your last chance, mister.
I'll be here.
You better.
She untied her apron and tossed it onto the counter, her gaze still sharp as a knife. With that, Roxy turned on her heel and walked out, leaving Josh standing alone in the back room of the coffee shop. The silence that followed was deafening, wrapping around him like a tightening noose. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine. The usual customers filtered in and out, their chatter blending into the hum of the espresso machine. Josh plastered on his best customer service smile. He took orders and delivered drinks with robotic efficiency. For a few brief hours, he managed to bury the gnawing anxiety and pretend that everything was fine, that he was just another guy working a normal shift. By 1:30 p.m., it was finally over. He clocked out and stepped outside, but as soon as he put his first foot on the street, he heard a familiar voice call out,
Josh!
He froze, heart skipping a beat. Carla stood across the street, arms crossed, wearing her signature gotcha expression.
Carla, I'm really sorry for yesterday.
You stood me up again.
I was sick. Really sick. I think I had a high fever because I started hallucinating in bed.
Carla's eyes narrowed, the gears in her investigative mind turning. She had a sixth sense for spotting lies, and Josh knew he was treading on thin ice.
I swear, I thought I was a wolf or something and ran around town. It was crazy. I thought I was losing it.
That threw her off her game.
That's weird. I am pretty sure a wolf saved me from a group of thugs yesterday.
Josh blinked, and despite everything, a slow smile tugged at the corners of his mouth.
Maybe it was a big dog? We don't have wolves in the city.
Maybe. Listen, I'm going to grab some coffee and head back to the Chronicle. Think you can walk me there? The streets of Dreadford aren't exactly safe these days.
Of course, come on. Coffee's on me.
They walked back inside, and as they waited for their drinks, Carla recounted her run-in with the thugs. Josh listened intently, hanging on her every word, captivated by the way she retold the story with a mix of humor and suspense. As they sipped their coffee, she asked about his fever and whether he was feeling better. He smiled, and when she returned the smile, he realized that despite everything, he really did feel better. After finishing their coffee, they headed down the streets toward the Dreadford Chronicle. The walk was uneventful, but there was a comforting ease between them. When they reached the newspaper's entrance, Carla leaned in and kissed him lightly on the cheek.
You still owe me dinner.
He smiled, watching her disappear inside before turning to make his way home. The streets were as grimy as ever, the city's usual filth and grit inescapable, but it was a nice, sunny day. He was relieved to have patched things up with both Roxy and Carla, but there was a lingering sense that he wasn't out of the woods yet. Still, the nightmare felt like it was fading. No more wolf visions, no ghosts haunting his steps. Maybe it really had all been a fever dream.
Josh!
A booming voice cut through his thoughts, followed by the sharp honk of a horn. He turned to see Carl in his white truck, waving from the driver's seat. The truck bed was filled with concrete finishing tools, and Carl himself was covered in a fine layer of grey dust. The man was built like a tank, with the rough, no-nonsense look of an ex-military guy who made his living pouring concrete at dawn. He, as usual, was wearing a baseball cap.
Hey, Carl!
Where are you going? Need a lift?
Josh sighed.
Sure.
He climbed into the truck, country music playing on the radio.
You snitched on me today.
Did I? Well, I need my coffee in the morning, buddy. Maybe you should wake up earlier. If I can, why can't you?
I had some strange problems.
Did you now? We all do. You are young, Josh. Change at your age is natural. You're a man.
It doesn't feel like it.
Carl laughed.
It never does. But let me give you a piece of advice, young one. Life changes all the time, and time moves forward, not backward. Embrace change, because you can't control life nor the world. There's only one thing you can control. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
Yourself. You can control yourself. So don't waste time trying to control what you can't. Spend your time learning to control yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
I mean it, Josh. You can control yourself. Learn that and you'll go farther than most.
Josh studied the older man for a moment, wondering what Carl really meant. There was a depth to his words, something beyond the surface. Carl's laughter echoed through the truck, pulling Josh back to reality.
And if Roxy puts your ass on the street, come find me. I can teach you how to work concrete. It's hard work, but good money. And if you work hard one day, you can even make a business out of it.
They pulled up in front of Josh's building. Carl slowed the truck to a stop, giving him a nod.
There you are.
Thanks, Carl.
Josh got out of the truck and headed to the entrance when he heard Carl calling for him. He turned back and the big man had a grin.
Learn to control yourself. You can do it.
Carl drove off, leaving Josh with the echo of those words hanging in the air. As he entered the building, he nearly collided with Mr. Laszlo, the landlord. The old man's eyes narrowed immediately.
Where's my money, Josh?
Friday, remember?
What about that dog you had?
Got rid of it. I'll pay for the door.
You better or I'll...
Before he could finish, Josh turned on him, grabbing the landlord's bathrobe with surprising strength. Mr. Laszlo staggered, eyes wide with shock as Josh held him in place.
I had a tough night and a tough day, Mr. Laszlo. I'll have the money by Friday as promised.
Of course, of course.
Mr. Laszlo nodded quickly, his usual bravado replaced with a jumpy manner. Realizing what he'd done, Josh released his grip, smoothing out the man's robe in an awkward attempt to apologize.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have...
Mr. Laszlo took a step back, putting some distance between them.
Don't worry about it. You are a good kid, Josh. You just need to control that temper, or one day it will bite back at you.
There it was again. Control. That same word. Twice in one day. That word was beginning to follow him like a shadow. Josh muttered a quick goodbye and made his way up to his apartment. Once inside, he busied himself with his daily chores. He cleaned the place, did his laundry, and tried to settle into a routine. But when he opened the fridge to fix a meal, it was empty. Of course. With a sigh, he took a quick shower, changed into fresh clothes, and headed back out. The mini-mart down the street was his next stop. Saeed was at the counter when Josh entered the mini-mart. His face lit up with a warm smile. He was an Iraqi immigrant trying to live his dream of running a small business.
How are you doing, my boy? It's been a while.
Hey, Saeed. Yeah, it's been a tough week.
Then be glad it is not tougher.
Saeed chuckled and Josh laughed along, feeling a bit lighter.
Listen, most people think that life is hard and they complain, asking for life to be easier, but it's a mistake, you know?
Oh yeah, how's that?
You should never ask life to be easier, because life can't be easier. Life is life, you know? But you can always be stronger, so always ask to be stronger.
Josh reflected on his words, nodding slowly.
You're right.
There he is. Go on, go on. There is some milk in the back that's about to expire. If you take it, I'll give you a discount. What do you think?
Josh headed to the back and started to pick up his groceries. This week took a toll on him, but Saeed was right. He needed to be stronger. As he picked up the milk and checked the expiration date, he heard raised voices at the front. He slowly made his way through the small aisle towards the commotion. 3 men in sharp Italian suits were arguing with Saeed, who had his hands raised in a pleading gesture.
What do you mean you don't have the money?
Business is slow, I tell you. I want to pay, but I don't have it right now.
Without warning, one of the men slammed a display off the counter, sending it crashing to the floor. Another revealed a baseball bat and swung it at the merchandise on the counter.
Hey!
Josh shouted, stepping forward instinctively. Saeed shot him a desperate look, silently pleading with him not to get involved.
Why don't you go back to your shopping, boy, before you get hurt?
That same temper that had flared with Mr. Laszlo earlier began to rise again inside Josh, but this time it was burning hotter.
Why don't you leave before you do?
We've got ourselves a hero, huh? Haven't you heard, kid? No one likes a hero.
The man pulled out a knife from inside his suit. As the 3 men advanced, Josh instinctively backed into the aisle, moving out of Saeed's line of sight.
I'm not gonna lie, kiddo. This is gonna leave a mark.
The man with the bat said, swinging high. The bat collided with the overhead light, shattering it and plunging the aisle into darkness. The next swing came down hard on Josh's arm, followed by a flurry of punches from the man with the brass knuckles. The 3rd man stood back, playing with his knife, savoring the violence. Josh's rage was boiling over, transforming into something primal. His skin toughened, his jaw extended, and small tusks protruded from his mouth. His hair thickened and his body grew larger. When the bat came down again, it snapped in 2 against his arm. Josh stood up, his face now feral with gleaming yellow eyes. The 3 men recoiled in shock, but before they could flee, Josh grabbed one of them and hurled him into the ceiling. The criminal crashed down, barely conscious and groaning in pain. The man with the brass knuckles landed another punch, but it was useless against Josh's now inhuman strength. Josh grabbed him by the collar, headbutting him before delivering a series of brutal punches. The last man, holding the knife, watched in horror. He lunged forward, stabbing Josh in the side, but the wound closed almost instantly, healing right before his eyes. The man's expression twisted with fear as Josh grabbed him by the collar and lifted him off the ground effortlessly.
If I see you here again, I'm gonna leave a mark on you and it will hurt.
He dropped the man, who scrambled to his feet and hurried out, dragging his associates with him. As Josh calmed, his body slowly returned to its human form. He stepped out of the aisle, and Saeed cautiously emerged from behind the counter, checking to see if the coast was clear.
I'm sorry for the mess, Saeed. I'll pay for...
Don't worry, it's okay.
At least let me pay for my groceries.
No, my boy. You take them. My gift to you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Saeed. I don't know what came over me.
As he turned to leave, Saeed called after him.
You should control that temper, my boy.
There it was again, control.